What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fun with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Arden Coots, and today is the Season 3 finale. That's right, folks. I'm finally calling Season 3 done. I didn't really see the point in trying to do more episodes for Season 3, so this will be the last one. We had 29 episodes this season of Fun with Friends podcast, and they were kind of all over the place, not gonna lie. I'm hoping going into Season 4, I'll have a clearer view on what I want to talk about, which I will mention a little later in this episode. But I wanted to share some stats, I guess, or facts about this last season, and then talk a little bit about what's coming up. So our most popular episode was episode 8, which is Travel Snacks with Geneva from Unwrap Your Maps, where she shared packing secrets and tips. So that's season 3, episode 8. Geneva has been on the podcast multiple times and is always super fun to record with, and people really like her episodes. So if you are a traveler or are looking to get into traveling, I would highly recommend checking out Geneva's episodes, especially if you're like an anxious packer, because she gives a lot of really good tips on how to like pack enough stuff and what to pack and how to pack. And it's just really helpful. I know she's helped me a lot with my packing anxiety and travel anxiety in general. So yeah, can't recommend episodes with Geneva enough. The other episode that did really well in season 3 was episode 18, which is the 2022 Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament that was held by Amanda Duncan of the Selkie. And Amanda's name might sound familiar because we've done, I think, 3 episodes with her on the podcast as well. So that 2022 Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament was a live podcast. It was quite a long episode, so I would recommend listening to it because it is quite fun. Katie and I essentially were sports broadcasters for the tournament, and I had a blast. It was super cool, and kind of the first live podcasting type event that I had ever done. But yeah, it was just like a cool experience all around. But I would suggest listening to it maybe in like 2 chunks, because it is like, I think, an hour and a half long. Might be longer than that, I'm not quite sure. But if you're into puzzling and want to hear some amazing puzzle puns and just wild commentary on a puzzle tournament, check it out. We did interview each of the teams, so it was fun to get people's takes on being in the Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament and hear them talking a little bit of shit to each other. So it was a good time. And I am happy to say that there will be a 2023 puzzle tournament later this year. I think it's going to be in October, and I do believe myself and Katie maybe will be doing another live podcast of that as well. So that's something that's in the works. Nothing's set in stone yet, but there will for sure be another Jigsaw Puzzle Tournament. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely follow the Selkie on Instagram, and that's I'll link to that in the episode description so you can easily find it, because I do think information will be shared on their social media. Let's see here. For a hot minute, I had another podcast before I decided to combine them all together because having 3 different podcasts was too much. But the Wandering Creatives podcast, we released 46 episodes of that. And the season finale was the most popular episode. So I don't know what that says. And I don't know if people were just like super stoked to listen to the end of that podcast. But that episode did really well. It was just me, I think, talking about people we'd interviewed and where that podcast was going and what was coming up. But the second most popular episode is episode 3. So that's the Wandering Creatives podcast, episode 3. And you can find these episodes in the Fun with Friends podcast feed, the backlog. So everything is now in one location. You'll be able to find it there. But that, again, is the Wandering Creatives podcast, episode 3, Building Your Business and Finding Safety in Art with Amanda Duncan of The Silky, who we just mentioned about jigsaw puzzles. That episode is the most popular episode other than the season finale, and I'm not surprised because it was a super amazing episode. It was the first one that I recorded with Amanda, and we talked about how she found her way through art and how her business and art kind of got her out of a bad spot and helped her heal, and how it can do that for other people and what it's like starting a business. And we just covered like a lot of like topics. Some of them are heavy. We do talk about domestic violence in that one a little bit. So just keep that in mind when you go into the episode. But it still is one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done. And Amanda's just an amazing person. So I can't recommend listening to that episode enough. And I will link to all of the episodes that I mentioned, just so it makes it easier to find them if you do want to give them a listen. Let's see. Now I'm going to go into some of my favorite episodes. So these are ones that I really enjoyed recording this season. The first one is The Fun with Friends, Season 3, Episode 22, Top Surgery, Testosterone, and Transitioning with KJ. That was a super fun, vulnerable, personal episode to record, where KJ and I talk about our experiences with top surgery, testosterone, and transitioning. So KJ is one of my good friends, and I loved having him on, and just really hearing someone else's stories and experiences and then comparing them, and just trading stories about what everything was like was nice, is always nice. And I have been approached about this episode, I think the most out of the episodes I've done, just about people sharing it with friends or family that might be thinking about transitioning or starting testosterone or getting top surgery, and they share that episode with them, and that means a lot. I'm glad that it's there to give people an idea of what at least our experiences have been like. And I always tell folks that, like, if you do have specific questions or want to talk about it, you can definitely reach out to me on social media, and I will get back to you. I'm usually pretty good about answering Instagram messages. So yeah, that's been a really great episode, and it makes me happy to know that it might help someone somewhere. So yeah, that was probably my favorite episode to record. Let's see. I also wanted to do some lessons learned. I am a podcast mentor on the side, and so I always try to think and look back at seasons to see like what worked well for me and what didn't work well for me, and what experiences I've had that I can also share with any of my mentees. And one of them was podcast burnout is real. I've been doing it now for 4 years, and this has been the hardest season to get through and the hardest year to do. And it's because I went in really hard with podcasting and thought that I could do 3 podcasts at once because I'd been doing it for a while and had all these ideas and really just wanted to like put out all this content, including like a Patreon and bonus episodes and videos and like all this stuff. And that is a lot. It is a lot to publish an episode every week. especially if you're a team of one. You've got to do the scheduling, you've got to reach out to potential guests, you've got to do the recording, the editing, the socials, you follow up with the guests, all the publishing, all of it, and it adds up. So I definitely experienced my first round, I would say, of podcast burnout, to the point where I thought about completely ending all of the podcasts, including Fun with Friends, and just letting them all go and being like, they've run their course. I've got the podcast bug out of my system. I don't need to do it anymore. So taking a little break, taking a little hiatus has definitely helped. And I do think going forward, my goal is going to be to publish 2 episodes a month, and have it at that. If I can do more, great, but I think 2 episodes is really the capacity I can handle at this point without feeling overwhelmed or getting burnt out again. So it's not as much, and I do always recommend that people try to post weekly, but for me, that's just not where I'm at anymore. So yeah, 2 episodes a month is what I'm looking at, and then I'll go from there. And with season 4, I really want to focus more on like bucket list lifestyles. Sorry about that. Bucket list lifestyles. But also feature creatives that are living like their artistic dreams. So their, like creative dreams. So I want to focus more on that. Ideally, I would like to get back to like what the Fun with Friends podcast was originally, which was going to events and with friends and talking about the events and stuff like that. But I'm just not really in a place right now in my life where I'm going to a lot of events with friends. I'm doing a lot of stuff by myself. And I'm knocking stuff off of my own bucket list, but again, I'm kind of doing it alone. So it fits more in with this kind of bucket list living. So I want to get some bucket list coaches on, some lifestyle, like how to live the life you want type coaches, and people who are just doing wild, amazing shit. And that can include and will include art and people who are, maybe selling a bunch of stuff on Etsy or eBay in order to fund the life that they want. So it's still going to be like a smattering of topics, but it's all focused on how to live the life you want and to cross things off of your bucket list. So that's kind of the direction I'm going. But that being said, I do want to know more about what you want. What do you want to hear about? I know travel is a topic that does really well. So I will for sure have a lot of travel conversations incorporated in the podcast, as always, because I love talking about travel as well. But how do y'all feel about the bucket list lifestyle conversations? Tips. Do you want more about creatives and maker interviews? Do you want to hear from movie directors and how they made their first movies and what that experience was like for them, and their journeys? So yeah, I really want to know what you want to hear. And you can let me know by messaging me on Instagram at Fun with Friends Podcast. You can shoot me an email, which is funfriendspodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, I think those are the only 2 ways you can get a hold of me at the moment. But I definitely am curious. Oh, Facebook. You can find me on Facebook too. Definitely want to know what you want to hear about, because I'm going to start recording season 4 soon. I haven't started yet. There's probably going to be about a month of emptiness, of lack of podcasts. as I start recording and getting episodes ready to go for season 4. But yeah, let me know, because I want to make sure I'm covering topics that you find interesting as a listener and that are helpful to you. So hit me up on the socials. And with that, that's all I've got for this episode. Longer than I thought it was going to be, which is dope. And I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And you will be hearing my voice in about a month, I think, with new content. So until then, get out there, try something new, and have some fucking fun. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Fun with Friends podcast, a CEI media production. Please like, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, as it helps us greatly. You can follow us on Instagram at Fun with Friends Podcast and on Facebook.